watching a different show. It's donkey. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship. Don't do this to me, Harry. The Ohio State. It's Ohio State. What do you mean, the? 312-988-15.
Hello?
You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Welcome in. Oh, the voice is still struggling, you guys. This weather, I'm never going to feel healthy in this weather. It goes from minus 25 degrees, wind chill, and then it's 50 degrees. How's a guy's sinuses ever supposed to settle under these circumstances? Son of a buck on the weather. Give a brother a break. Stay cold, stay hot. Pick one, pick the other. I don't care at this point. How's everybody doing? Welcome in, welcome back. You're off to the races in the chat. You guys are good. You guys are good. You got all sorts of juicy stuff in the chat already. We got a phone call. I'll get to you early. 818. We'll get to you early. Man, you guys, a lot of good chats. A lot of good chats. You're bringing up some juicy information here to debate and talk about. Some things I agree with. Some things I don't agree with. Dr. John, it's good to see you, brother. Wonder where you're at. Montana at the ranch with all the ladies or what? What are we doing? Good to see you here, doctor. Good to see you here. Rodney, I'm at a loss of subjects to discuss. Oh, don't worry. We got, there's always something in Notre Dame land. There's always something. Mikey Pulse says early, meaning 45 minutes into the stream. Hang in there. Irish Cubby, just a bunch of low IQ degenerates. Where's WPP on a Monday? Where's WPP on a Monday? D-Lo G, what's going on? That's kind of a cool name, man. I wish that was my hip-hop nickname. What's up, D-Lo G? I like that. That sounds really good. Oh, man. Yeah, Andrew, that's on my list. It's on my list. Kent Jackson, well, it's the big slow. Beefeater says Johnny's sinuses are like our D-line recruiting. It's all over the place and always irritating. You're darn right about that. Andrew Gilmore. ND lost out on a high 4-star edge rusher this weekend who is supposedly a silent commit. One thing that's been underwhelming with Freeman is pass rush recruiting. What do you want to say? You want to give credit to Chad already? You walked in there and all of a sudden he gets guys to flip that were apparently committed to Notre Dame? What's the deal? What's the deal? So, yeah, he was playing Fortnite, and that's what sealed the deal. He dressed up like a Trojan, like he dressed up like a leprechaun and ran around the parking lot. I don't know. But I did see that. Samodi Katanga, is that how you say it? I want to say Topanga from Boy Meets World. By the way, you ever look back, if you're my age at 40, and look back at all those sitcom television shows? The world was a better place. When you had Boy Meets World and you had all these step-by-step Family Matters, Fresh Prince, all this stuff. Full House, all of that stuff. And it was all like, there was a moral to the story and they taught the kids how to like act right and right from wrong. It wasn't trash TV. There was a moral to every story. Those were the days. We need to get back to that. If everybody would listen to Feeney, we'd be in a better place. Seriously, man. If everybody listened to Feeney, we'd be in a better place. What are you talking about, John? I'm telling you, all those shows, they all had a moral to the story, taught kids how to act right. Now I feel like shows teach kids how to be trashy or something. I'm getting old. Okay, so USC gets this guy, and then that came out on Twitter, and I just saw everybody pretty much saying, tough break for Notre Dame, whatever. I don't know what to make of it. I do know this. USC just flipped a quarterback from right up the road from me in Frankfurt that was committed to Oregon, and then now he flipped. It's right up the road in Frankfurt, like the next big town from here in the suburbs here. And so whatever, man. I don't know what you think. Are you giving the credit to giving the credit to Chad goes over there and suddenly everything opens up for USC recruiting it or what? So I don't know. I don't know. Whatever. TikTok teaches the kids to be trashy. What it is, I'm telling you, man. Twitter and even YouTube shorts and all this stuff, man, it is dangerous. I'm 40 years old and struggle with it sometimes. I couldn't imagine like a 12-year-old girl or something. It is hard to keep your sanity sometimes, even as a 40-year-old. I couldn't imagine. I really couldn't imagine if you're like younger and trying to be like a teenager and just fit in and all that. It would be overwhelming. I'm glad I didn't have those problems when I was in high school. We didn't have it. Stefan Urkel. Stefan Urkel, man. Didn't he like step into a porta potty and then when he came out, he was Stefan and he was all smooth talking Laura and all this stuff? Am I dreaming that? Oh, man. Yeah, I remember Winnie Cooper. Wonder Years was awesome. Home Improvement. Don't change that channel. Those were the old days, man. You know who else was hilarious? Cody from Step by Step. Wasn't he like, whoa, Dana. Whoa, Dana. And he lived in that van in the driveway. Oh, man, dude. Yeah, Cody from Step by Step. Whoa, Dana. Hey. Dude, I'm telling you, it isn't just because I grew up in that era. I swear it was just like wholesome TV, man. Wholesome TV. Trying to right when I say wholesome TV, Mikey Poles writes Married with Children. I'm just telling you, J. Carr sounds like a stoner who lived in a van. I'm pretty sure that's what he was. I'm pretty sure that's what he was. Judge Judy, telling you, callers, I'm coming to you. I like this topic. Here's my thing with Judge Judy, man. The thing with Judge Judy is, like, you ever wonder if she's just wrong? When Judge Judy, all those years, she would just be like, no, you're an idiot. Like, she would literally just in the show be like, no, you're an idiot. You're wrong. You're losing this case. I know you lied, whatever. Does anybody ever worry, like, what if Judge Judy got it wrong? Like, I'm just wondering, like, did she batted 100? Like, she never messed up when she's just like, you're an idiot. You're losing this case. I know exactly what happened here. You did this and this. I don't know. And have you seen how much money she makes on residuals from syndication for that show? It's unbelievable how much money that lady makes with that little doily, froily thing. And they're laying the law down. Laying the law down. Andrew Gilmore. I just don't understand why ND can't have as good a D-lines as Penn State, Michigan. Even Ohio State has Freeman recruited a player better than Isaiah Foskey. It's a fair question, man. It's a fair question. And again, it's one of the things, for as much as you like of what Notre Dame did in 2024 and all that stuff, the recruiting's got to get better, in my opinion. I'm sorry. Josh says Baywatch always had the morals to the story. Yeah, I know. I enjoyed that one too. You know what else came on like before or after Baywatch that I loved? The original MacGyver. If you're my age, do you remember MacGyver? Anybody remember that show? That dude would take like a Duracell battery and save the United States. He never used a gun, but he figured a way out of everything. Oh, well, I'll use this clothespin and roll of toilet paper and I'll make this thing and then we'll survive. We'll all survive or whatever. The MacGyver ruled. I used to love that show, man. MacGyver was legit. Andy Griffith. Now you're getting a little before my time there. I mean, I know it, but it's a little before my time. We're gonna talk about we gonna talk about the Brady Bunch too and leave it to the beef. Leave it to Beaver. Doogie Howser. I didn't watch too much of the Doogie Howser. The Young and the Restless. Yeah, that's should I wish it was Notre Dame's recruiting class. You know what I'm saying? Oh man. We're off sideways now. All right. I got a few callers. I'm going to go to the callers. I highlighted a bunch of the chats. That I'm going to come back to because Teach Me How to Dougie is different than Teach Me How to Doogie. If he's teaching you how to Doogie, you would be a surgeon, right? Isn't he like a teenage genius or something? Is the story? Teach me how to Doogie. Oh, that's funny. That is funny. Couple super chats, then we'll go right to the calls. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. We'll see what you guys think. The $2 holler for Rodney. I'm at a lots of subjects to discuss. Well, Callahan Autos, Cubs 4-0. Got another overhyped season. Go Irish. $5 holler. Who cares about spring training? Isn't it like split squads and you don't even have your full team or whatever? Anyways, I don't know. I'm hearing there's drama with the contracts of the Cubs and the Sox with their respective TV outlets. And I'm reading that I don't know if either one of them are even going to be available on TV. And I'm within a radius of the city where I get all the city TV stuff. And I'm hearing there's drama that you may not even be able to get the Cubs game on marquee or the White Sox games on local TV. Might be the best thing ever for my hairline to not watch this trash all summer. Again. Son of a buck. I only care about two teams in my life. One of them is this silly football stuff, and the other one is the Sox baseball team, and it's got to be terrible every minute of my existence. V1 Rotate, $10 hour. I'm back. Well, it's good to have you back. $10 hour, Ryan Elliott. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Chris is here, the wild man. Sunglasses on or not, buddy? First thing in the morning. Are we in the shade or not? Biggest question. Can Notre Dame repeat last season's success with the new QB and head coach that can't count to 11? The first part of your question is very, very fair. And the second part, have we not moved on from that? Like, how far removed do you have to be from the Marcus 10-man? It still hurts me. Silent commits mean nothing, and it's way too early in the cycle to be complaining. Listen, man. Silent commits, you know when silent commits mean nothing? When they end up not committing to you. like a silent commit means nothing when they're not silent anymore, and then they go to your arch enemy who represents all of the values that are the opposite of yours. That's when a silent commitment means nothing. This recruiting's got to get cranked up. And I'm going to the calls. The recruiting's got to get cranked up. It's just for all the good stuff going on in the program. The recruiting is just like, it's just not where I want it to be. Get inside that top 10. And don't just tell me Leonard Moore was a 3-star and therefore it's okay to recruit a class full of 3-stars because a couple of our guys were 3-stars and now they're good. Don't give me that. I'm not buying it. I know you want to say it to make yourself feel better, and I know you want to say it to make yourself not worry about Notre Dame recruiting, and I know you want to convince yourself it's good enough. I don't think it is. So if you want to tell yourself that, fine, but don't be telling me, oh, look at a couple 3-stars we got, and then they turn into 5-stars. Therefore, it's okay to base your recruiting that way. No, false. Those are exceptions to the rule, not the rule. Exceptions to the rule, not the rule. Understand that. Rodney, what's going on? Look, we're going to the callers early, 15 minutes. If you're on hold, you're going to be on the air. What's going on, Rodney? Long time no talk, buddy.
Yeah, it has been a few, man. Yeah, I've been out of the loop, man. I took a couple weeks out of just the information on Notre Dame football, stop watching podcasts for a couple weeks. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need a break. You
Yeah.
don't get to have those.
Rodney,
You don't
dude,
get to have those.
you would be surprised how many people have reached out to me and they were just like, man, I need a little break. Like after the season and the emotional load that was high and low and everybody's nerves were shot. A lot of people were like, dude, I love you. I love your show. I just need a few weeks. I'll be back for spring ball. So I totally understand it. And everybody needs to recharge, man. How you been?
Well, that's okay. I mean, I moved to a new part of Indianapolis. So that has a lot to do with it too. It's just the move and all that stuff. And then had some, the show that I'm in right now. That's going on strong. And so I'm finding out I couldn't go to the Blue Gold game because it coincided with the second weekend of our show and all. That was kind of a bummer. But nonetheless, man, this is that time of the year where I usually do take a little bit of a break. I'll still read stuff and hear stuff, but yeah, man. So I'm as fascinated about what's been going on as anybody. It's like, yeah, man. As far as it's the recruiting stuff, it is kind of baffling. It's kind of baffling, like But I will say this: maybe Freeman can't count to 11, but he can certainly count to 14, and that's the number of wins we had. Broke every Notre Dame record ever. Granted, we had more games to do that this year, but still, 14-2, man.
Yeah.
Great spot to be in. But you would think that there'd be a recruiting boost after this, and maybe there will be. This happens a lot too, John, where you go through these like lulls where it looks like, God, what's going on? And then all of a sudden three high 4-stars commit in a row.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
now
that,
let me ask this, Rodney. Let me ask this because I genuinely don't know the answer to this question. What has been the operational status of Notre Dame's recruiting wing while they were trying to find a GM and Chad left and you were in a little in-between period? Like, I understand that all the coaches need to do what they need to do and still recruit their areas or whatever. I'm just saying there's some instability there when you no longer have the infrastructure in place, like when Chad leaves and that GM piece is the top of building out the talent acquisition infrastructure. I think it's fair of me to ask, like, what has been the status of all that? Is it just every individual coach do the best you can to recruit your territory and there is no overarching structure while you're trying to get situated? Like, certainly they can't go, well, we're just not going to recruit till we get a new GM in here and they set everything up. So maybe that's a part of it. Maybe that instability's been a part of this. Maybe not. I just honestly don't know the answer. But I think it's fair of me to ask where that's all been. It just can't be a normal operation when you lose the guy that was at the top building it out. I don't know what that looks like, what it has looked like. I don't know.
That's a fan. I was thinking the same thing myself, man. It's a fantastic point because, you got to understand, too, the teams that didn't make the title or the teams that were really close or maybe even weren't close, are going to be hungrier. I mean, by nature, they're going to be hungrier. So that lull, when Notre Dame was making that run and then losing a couple guys, losing a couple coaches, it just goes to figure that teams that didn't get there are pushing even harder. And if their staff is already full, that they have a little bit of advantage. So that's why I'm thinking maybe this time, this period right now, maybe Notre Dame's not looking so good, but then maybe give it another, month or two, and then maybe we go on a hot run, So I'm not that worried, but I will say that it could just be a situation, man, where you got a lot more teams now, a lot more coaching staffs now that are really good recruiting staff. So, whereas before Freeman looked like the next big thing in recruiting, there's several of those now. And so again, I think we talked about this before, just like with the elite talent being more spread out, maybe not as high end as it was a few years ago, but there's more teams now that have it. Like maybe there's 7, 8, 9 teams now that you can say, okay, these teams are legitimately, great programs.
Yeah.
It's probably the same thing with your recruiting operation. In other words, Notre Dame, again, I'm with you, John. I want to see them finish in that top 10. That's kind of where I'm at right now. But still, I think that is sort of psychological, though, for us. Maybe more realistically, maybe now there's like 12 or 13 programs where the recruiting is like between 1 and 13 isn't nearly the big difference it used to be. Maybe that's what it has become now.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's all new to all of us.
Yeah, that's
you know
fair.
I mean?
That's fair. Now, okay, and here's something else I don't know the answer to. I'm being honest. I'm asking the question. I don't have the answer. You have this really good year, the best year Notre Dame's had in a very, very long time, broke through a lot of glass ceilings and kind of changed the narrative around Notre Dame to a large extent. Is it fair to just by default of that success expect a recruiting boost? Or is that antiquated old thinking where I'm like, you have a good year, it'll automatically translate to more interest for more good guys? Or in this changing landscape where so much of it is about NIL and what that looks like, is that not as big of a factor as it was before? But Rodney, it's hard for me not to believe there's a few really good high school players that watched Notre Dame on this run and thought, you know what? What a fun, energetic, young coach. Notre Dame, good academic play. I'm going to take a trip to Notre Dame, and maybe I wouldn't have before. Is it naive of me to think that this has got to help a little bit? I mean, geez, you're in the final 2. If you can't get a boost off that, what are we doing?
I could not agree with you more, man. I honestly thought this, especially watching that run we had and all the praise Freeman was getting and the genuine praise and the genuineness of Freeman. My God, you think that would have run? I am again, John, this could show its head in just a month or two. It could be we get this, like I said, we get lulls and highs. I'm also thinking, but yes, I agree with you. I would have thought there'd have been more of a jump just initially. Having said that, when Golden left, I mean, if we're looking at defense, I mean, he was, he won the Broyles Award. He was the architect of this whole thing. And him leaving, that may have left a hole for, like we were saying, for a few weeks, there may have left a hole there for defense, even though Golden wasn't necessarily a top end recruiter at this age, this time in his life, although he was years ago. I mean, to be fair to him, when he first came on the scene, anyway, but point is that may have left a hole for a little bit where, other guys, other recruiting staffs, Penn States, Michigans, Ohio States, so on and so forth, USC's, where they were taking that moment and grabbing onto it. So that's why maybe this while I thought that there would be an initial boost, and maybe it would have been had we kept the staff largely together. But I don't think there's any panicking here. There's nothing like that. It's also good to see that Freeman knows, it's not just he does more with less, John. He does more with nothing, meaning, I mean, well, what I mean is like they're starters. They're like, it looked like 11 guys that were on injured reserve. And he made the two, the second and third stringers, play unbelievably well down the stretch. So I guess what I'll take from that is, if we are going to finish a little bit on the fringe of top 10 classes, I mean, if that's the way this is, at least we know we have a coach that can get every speck out of them. That's what I took from this last season.
Yeah, that's a that is a really, really good point. What they did in spite of those injuries, specifically on both lines, was really impressive, and that is a good sign for the future. And again, maybe it's just too early to look at this next class, and maybe I don't know, and I don't know. I have no way to gauge where this is all at and how Chad leaving impacted the recruiting operation and what else is going on because you're a month behind because you went so long in the playoff, what that's done to setting everything up for spring.
Well, and John, I think you just mentioned it. You said you're kind of a month behind. In a way, they are a month behind. I mean, because of that long run. I mean, we'll obviously trade that any day of the week and twice on Sunday for, the run we just had. But yeah, that probably has a lot to do with it. I mean, recruiting is a 365-day a year thing. I mean, we've said that before, but I don't think it's ever been more true than now. And I do think that we are very close to some of these things getting more solidified. I'm talking with, the NIL, the transfers, and this new collective bargaining thing that's going to be on this. That happens this summer? When does that happen? That where they meet and they try to figure all this out or whatever?
I don't know when that kicks in, where they're going to have to automatically pay like payroll. Everybody's going to have to pay it with that lawsuit or going through the courts. I don't know when that kicks in. So I don't know, Rodney. Let me ask you this on the way out. You said you didn't have a lot of topics. Let me bring one up on the way out. I'm sure you'll have an opinion.
Cool, yeah.
I'm sure you'll have an opinion.
Yeah.
415-949-630. You're all coming up. My question to you would be, how do you think Freeman's going to handle the quarterback dynamic in spring ball? And how do you want him to? And those could necessarily not be the same answer. Do you think it'll be an open competition for everybody? Or do you think Angeli will be a default number one and somebody's going to have to catch him? How do you think Freeman's going to handle it? And how would you want him to handle it?
I've been thinking a lot of. Okay, that is a subject I have been thinking a lot about. Man, I absolutely want an open competition, John. I do. I think there needs to be a lot of rotating in where it's like, yeah, Angeli's with the ones, but you just rotate them. I think you give equal snaps to each guy at least early on. And God bless him. If Angeli earns it, then I want him as a starter. I'm going to say that right now. If he earns it, I want him as the starter. And kind of if all things are equal, I want him as the starter. Because I know some people would say, well, if all things are equal, maybe go with the younger guy, the guy with the better legs. It just depends on how the offense is running. That's an underrated thing, John. I don't think we always think about. We're like, well, this guy's got better legs. This guy throws the ball better. But how do the players play around the starter? If there just seems to be an extra level that guys get when Angeli's on the field, it does seem like he has that ability somehow. I mean, I know we haven't seen a lot of them, but I was really impressed what he did when things were looking really bleak in that Penn State game, and he brought them up from that, and then, made it easier when Leonard came back in the game. But so I've always thought there's something about Angeli. There's like something about the way he's able to get other players to play a little better when he's in the game. I don't know if that continues through an entire season, but it's fascinating. So I hope it's an open competition, though. Having said that, I really do.
It'll be the story of the spring, along with what that defense looks like under Ash. Are you able to maintain, or are you going to regress? So it's
hey John, we is it pretty safe to say we've secured Mickens now?
I hope so. I think that's all over. I kept hearing he was interviewing or being approached for things. I hope that's all over and all the chairs have been filled. As far as I know, I think we're through the woods on that for at least another year. And then Rodney, here's the thing, man. I know you're not going to make it to Blue and Gold. I got to make it to South Bend more often. So maybe we'll plan something where all of our people can get into town.
I was literally on the way. Yeah, not on the way out. I was literally going to say, man.
What were you going to say? Where'd you go? I did not hang up. I don't know where he went. Sorry, Rodney. I don't know where he went. You all know what time it is. I'll be right back. 415-949-630. And then I highlighted a lot of these chats because they're really, really good. So when the callers are done, I'm going to go over these chats. You guys are posted some really good stuff today. I don't know what got into everybody. You're off to the races on a Monday. Good job. We back. Oh, boy. You guys know what I'm doing. Give me a break. Give me a break. $20 holler from Eric, my lawyer in Michigan. Johnny hitting the baggy. Chad left. Hey, Chad. 415. Good morning. What's going on?
Good morning, John. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm trying to figure out where Notre Dame is situated before spring ball. And I don't have all the answers, and it's causing a little bit of anxiety. Does that make sense? You're just trying to figure out where we're at, how put together this whole operation is going to be of what it is moving forward. I don't know.
Completely normal. And that is, I think we feel that, especially because of the fact that we had the taste of victory for so many, months throughout the season, all the way up to the championship game. And you want to make sure and ensure that is going to continue.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting here, we need that continuity to continue.
You're right. And you know what else? For all of the pressure and the stress that was put on this program and the head coach for the year 3 stuff, it doesn't get any easier. Like, now you've just changed people's eye level in this fan base of what's possible. You've changed the expectations. So it's going to be year 4 with the different feel, but expectations are going to be higher than they've ever been in the Freeman era. And it's justified, and they should be. But this is a whole new ball game. It's same pressure, but built differently for this year 4. You got to have a good year and get off to a good start, damn it.
And every year is going to be like that. Every single year from here on out. Year 3 was kind of the mark that we all had as Notre Dame fans, just because of the history of year 3 within the coaching staff, tree. But now, as it goes, year 4, year 5, year 6, you have to have forward progression in every single facet of your program. And in any kind of regression, as we've talked before, is not going to be, I don't want to say tolerated, because we're the fan base, but it's more of like, it's one of those ones that's going to keep us, uneasy, and it's just having that uneasy setting. So I just feel like it's got to keep moving forward.
How do you do this? How do you do this? How do you maintain, even with the changes in the defensive staff and all that, how do you maintain what you've been doing defensively, the strength and the art of the program all these years? How do you maintain that, keep a good running game, and then add to it a dangerous passing game? That's kind of like when I zoom out big picture of like where this program could get noticeably better. It would be maintaining that good defensive stuff you've been doing. And then you got to find a way to be able to test more teams offensively. What is it going to take to be able to get you there? Good line play. You're going to have to pick the right quarterback. And then you're going to need these receivers to be different than what we're used to. I think that's what it's going to take to do what I'm asking. And I don't know how realistic that is or not. And I also don't know how long that'll take to kick in. Is it too much for me to want that in Miami week 1? Because I kind of do already.
No, it's not. It's not too much to ask for it. Then it's more the idea that we're looking at every single angle and thinking, where are we going to get better? How are we going to maintain things? What's going to be the substitute for last year's success? And how is that going to work?
Yeah.
And it's. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough to sit there and wonder all this with not having anything in front of us to answer it for us. The only thing that's going to answer this is going to be week 1, because even in the blue and gold game, you're going to see certain things, but again, it's not going to matter until week 1. We're going to hear things throughout the spring and throughout summer and, going into fall. But again, it's not going to matter until we see it week 1. So it's going to be a long 6 months, man. But it's one of those ones where
it certainly
we
is.
Just have to be patient with it.
It certainly is. And I keep defaulting to this when I think about Notre Dame's offense going into Miami. My default position on this is, and it's maintained, the best thing you could do is have that O-line cooking right away. Everybody's healthy. Yeah. You got guys lined up in the slot where they play best with the group. Everybody's healthy. You have a full deck to choose from, and you're able to move the ball and move the pile and support a young quarterback. That, to me, is going to be one of the most important parts of this, no matter who that quarterback's going to be. And I already have anxiety about it, man. Like it's a challenging start to the year. You have no flexibility.
Yeah, definitely. And we've talked about this, and we're going to continue to talk about it until that day comes. But the offensive line is definitely going to be one of the keys to that game, no doubt about it. Because if they don't give that young quarterback time in the back in the pocket, it's going to start getting a little bit weird, and you're going to start seeing happy feet and maybe some errant throws or just tucking the ball. Because again, this quarterback, whoever it is, as we said before, is going to be, taking the first start, and you don't know how they're going to act or react in a hostile crowd like that.
Yeah.
So definitely the offensive line is going to be a key point.
Yeah. You just need to, the more pressure you could take off whoever this quarterback is, the better you're going to be. And then if you could survive that situation, no matter what it looks like, and get out of there with a win, you do have that week off in between to be able to kind of look at what you need to get better at. And you're gaining a little extra 2-week window there, I guess. So I don't know, man. It's going to be a big, big moment. And then what are your concerns about the defense under Ash? Do you think it's a fair concern to be like, with Al, we knew exactly what we were going to get, and we knew it was going to be good enough, and now it's just uncertainty? Not that it's like for sure going to fall back, but it's not the certainty it was with Al Golden running the defense, and I think that is fair. It is something on the list to worry about and keep an eye on that wouldn't be if Al Golden was still there, and I think that's fair.
Because we're losing the continuity. And so my concern, if I have any, is going to be that of how is the continuity? How is this defensive team gelling together? Same as I would have for any side of the ball, whether it was offense, defense, or special teams. What is the continuity? And are they going to be able to gel under his leadership? But again, looking to Freeman, looking to Mickens, looking to the other people that have been there before to help kind of guide that. So if I had any kind of concern, it would be, how is the continuity and the belief system under Ash by the players? Are the players going to be, bought into his system, his philosophy, and then not to mention his temperament? A lot of how players act and react has to do with how they're being kind of treated or talked to, or, the personality traits that they can kind of gel with. And that could be somewhat of a concern when you bring in somebody new, because you don't know how they respond to things. If they respond different than the way Golden did, is that difference going to turn players off, or is it just different and it's okay because they understand the overall goal? So there's a lot of different facets there that we have to kind of look at, from a psychological standpoint, how their minds are gelling, because once their minds gel and believe into the system, then that's where it's going to be produced, productively on the field.
Yeah. And you know what else would help too is if you could just not have 98 injuries this year. Like, I know everybody says, dude, everybody says injuries happen. It's just a part of the game, whatever. Like, what are you going to do? Injuries happen. All I'm saying is when your injury list is so outsized compared to the average program, it's either really, really, really bad luck, or you are wearing or doing things that are not the right things to wear and do that are adding to the likelihood of these injuries. If you just had better injury luck, I feel better about all this right away, especially defensively. So you got to figure something out.
Definitely. And there's going to be times where you can't get you're not going to be able to handle the injuries. The injuries are going to be something that come up, and they're just part of the game. You know what I'm saying? And no more were they more part of the game than they were last year, because that was the most unprecedented display of injury, next man up, on all sides of the ball that I've ever seen. I mean, none of us could believe it. It was incredible how it just kept going and going and
so,
going.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. Tell me if this is, I'm trying to be very, very, very fair here, okay? When you have injuries that are an outlier compared to the average football team, to the extent Notre Dame had, I think you have an obligation as a program to look into everything. And I'm talking about your cleats. I'm talking about what you're eating. I'm talking about the training stuff you're doing or not doing. I feel like you have an obligation to look into all of that. I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, or it could just be bad luck. But when you have injury problems to this extent, you have an obligation to at least look at everything internally and see if there's anything you could be doing different, or look at the science or whatever. And if the answer is no, it was just bad luck, that's the answer, and I'll live with it. But I think you have an obligation as a program to investigate it when it's to the extent that it's been for us compared to other teams. I think that's fair. I'm not accusing anybody of doing a bad job. I just think you need to look into it. It's been ridiculous.
Yeah, and it is. And I would definitely agree with you that you have to look into it. You have to do your due diligence and look into it. However, when you start looking at certain injuries, like the Riley Mills one during the game against Indiana, that's just a freak accident. He's doing a dive. His leg gets wrapped around somebody else, and that's a wrap. That's it.
Yeah.
Benjamin Morrison, I would look more into like a Benjamin Morrison type of situation where he had a pre-existing injury with the hip, and then something happened where it got re-injured, and then that was it, and then he had to have surgery. So that would be one where I'd look more into it, like, hey, were we doing the right thing, the entire season with him? And then it's almost individually based, really, because did it happen on the field and was somebody blocking and somebody rolled into him? Was it just a cut that happened?
Yeah.
Was it the cleat that was, too long of a cleat or too short of a cleat, for whatever turf they were on or different conditions of the field? So you look into it, no doubt about it, but the majority of the time it's football, and these players are bigger, faster, stronger. They're being hit a lot differently, now as far as, coming from like a missile standpoint. These kids are just coming out as hard as they can. And sometimes it is a freak accident, and sometimes you just get your bell rung. And it's one of those ones where I think you got to look at all the different facets, because you're not going to be able to mitigate all of them, but there should be enough that you can maybe make some changes and look into it from that side of the point.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. There's just a lot of reshuffling here, and it's tough to thread the needle of trying to maintain the momentum you gained last year, change a bunch of pieces, and then get better from it without losing where you were. It's an interesting little dynamic here to thread the needle, and we're going to see. I just can't wait to get spring ball going and learn more about the new dynamic and the new people around this program and where everybody's going to fit in. Anything else, my friend?
Yeah.
Good call to start on a Monday.
Yeah, definitely. I did want to touch on the recruiting side of things, because this is something that is very unique to Notre Dame. And I just want people to kind of remember this, that, again, I don't necessarily believe that most things are due to one reason as to why somebody is or is not doing something. I think there's a multitude of issues or multitude of different reasons or variables that come up that have kind of the end result being what it is. And what I mean by that is, with recruiting, now that players are getting paid, right? And you can even look at this from a general manager standpoint. Why did the general manager stay where he did? Because it was his home, because his family was already there, and because he was getting paid, right? Now, if he wasn't getting paid as much, maybe he would have came to Notre Dame, right? If we were going to be paying him that much. So maybe he had all the different variables that fit into place. For a player, you look at like the quarterback that we were going to get, Deuce Knight, right? Why did he stay? Why did he stay around his home base? Because of that, and because he was going to get paid, for sure, right? So you have these different things that come up into play, where if a player is going to be getting paid and they get to stay near home, they're going to take that. And I'll give you the other variable that they don't have to contend with. If you're going to these other schools, you don't have to contend with the Notre Dame rigorous schedule of education. You don't have to go to these different classes, hold a 3.0 GPA, or do all the different things that you need to in order to graduate from a University of Notre Dame. So it does take a very unique type of young man to come to this school and take on that schedule of the scholastic side of things, as well as the football side of things, because that's a playbook in itself, right? So it's just a lot for a young man, for 18, 19, 20 years old, to be taking on.
Yeah.
And so if they're getting paid now and they get to stay home, and it's not necessarily, they'll get a college education, but it's not going to be as difficult, they're probably going to take it, unless they have that Notre Dame itch, unless they have that Notre Dame kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, like that uniqueness to it, where they just want to get in there and be a part of this.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of that, for recruiting, as far as the general manager goes, the players aren't going to go and play for the general manager. They're playing for the head coach. They're playing for the defensive backs coach. They're playing for the offensive line coach. They're playing for those types of coaches, right? They're going to see the general manager every once in a while, but that's more of a business transaction. That's not going to be something that I feel, at least for me, if I'm just thinking if I were in their shoes, that I'd be sitting there basing it like, I want to play for that guy. It's more of how did they work with the recruits on the business side of things. But really, are the recruits going to be able to then sit there and understand, I want to play for Marcus Freeman and that staff?
Yeah.
And so, you know what I'm saying? So as far as like Chad going off to USC, do I feel like that had anything to do with it? Not necessarily. And do I feel like our playoff run really had anything to do with the fact that we do or do not lose players? I think it has more of a fact of us getting players than losing them. Because if it were true that the longer our season went, the less recruits we would get because we had a month later, well, then why is Kirby Smart and back in the day, Nick Saban, who did it year after year, still getting top 10 classes or top 5 classes every single year?
Yeah.
But they were making it to the championship every year. It's because the brand was there. And you wanted to go play for Nick Saban. You knew you were going to be on a championship team, and you knew that you were going to be probably going to the pros or had a really good shot at it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it just takes time, John. It just takes time. We have to establish this culture. We have to establish the winning ways. And if we keep doing this and we start doing it year after year, the recruits will start coming in, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And with the time thing, let's get the new GM and the new recruiting infrastructure in here. And you know, it's too early to judge on any of that. Everybody's just getting situated. And let's see where the spring and the summer cycle leads. Hey man, really appreciate it. Good start to a Monday, brother. Thank you.
Thanks, John. You take care of yourself, buddy.
Have a good one. Man, that guy's always got thoughts. Off-season special. 949-630 coming up. Jay Carr, the Pepto sold out. Here's the problem, you guys. With the Pepto-Bismol or like the Imodium pills. Do you remember the Imodium pills you could take and whatever? The problem is, if you're feeling like you're loose in the caboose, like you're driving down the highway, you're in traffic or whatever, and you're in a bad spot, and you're feeling like it's loose in the caboose after you ate Taco Bell for lunch, by the time you take that Imodium or whatever, you know when the Imodium kicks in? Right after you poop your pants and then you get home. That's the problem with this stuff, is it doesn't happen instantly. So then you take that stuff and then you're in the danger zone. You're still in the danger zone for like a half hour or 45 minutes. Bro, like I may not have that kind of time. You don't know what kind of time I'm dealing with here. So that's my problem, man. I always used to have that Imodium with me for traveling or whatever. The issue is you're going to have an issue before it kicks in. And then by the time you're home and you can let it all loose, then you're clogged up for 3 days. Anyways, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. 949, welcome to the show. Good morning on that bright note.
I got USC stuck in my craw trying to cancel I can't even think straight. This has got me so pissed off.
Let's work through it. Do you believe that this is them on their own, or they're working in cahoots with the Big Ten to try and prop up their playoff chances and apply a little pressure for Notre Dame? Like, what do you think is behind this potential cowardly move by the Trojans?
I say F them both.
I like that.
You know, look what happened to Penn State when they left Independence and went to the B1G.
Yeah.
They've crapped the bed since then. The same thing's going to happen to SC. They can't compete there. Not in any, well, maybe girls basketball, but who care? The only thing I care about in girls basketball is Notre Dame, and I got to see them here live in Miami last week. Man, it's something.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what else, man? Tough loss by the ladies yesterday. I don't watch a ton of the Notre Dame basketball, but I did catch that one. Really tough road loss. But it's like, dude, don't they play like 30 or 40 games in college basketball? What's the big deal? Like, you can afford to lose this one. Like, if you were going to lose a tough road game, now it's time to do it, I guess. Like, I just can't freak out about because there's so many games in basketball. Am I looking at it wrong? I don't act like I know about how it works. I don't know.
Yeah, you got it right. And I think Neely Ivy, she got a, she's going to get a very good read from the film. She's going to see that basically North Carolina State took them out of their game and caused them to run all game. And they missed a ton of threes. They missed 54 field goals, including layups. And it's just because they were tired from running up and down. So, if they slow the ball down, if they play them tomorrow and they slow the ball down, they'll blow them out. Not worried about that. It was, they showed some fight hanging in there at being tired for 2 overtimes on the road. Traveling across the country, which USC football doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
But good for them.
Dude, it is a question that I have is behind the scenes at USC, I would love to hear the discussions about how this transition into the Big Ten has gone. I'm just wondering what they really think. Is there a panic about we were unprepared for the travel taking this much of a toll on us, or the schedule's a lot? We underestimated how much tougher a week-to-week Big Ten schedule would be than what we were doing in the Pac-12. I would love to know what the conversations are behind the scenes there about how that transition is gone, because it hasn't all gone as smooth as they all wanted it to. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's going to continue to go south on them, and good for them.
Yeah,
they get what they deserve.
Yeah, exactly. But dude, you can't now be like, wait a second, we don't like having all this national travel. Well, what do you mean? It didn't just sneak up on you. You knew when you looked into making this move that intense travel crisscrossing the whole country was going to be a part of the deal. It's not like that's a surprise.
Plus, Notre Dame's been doing it since before an airplane was invented.
Yeah, with no complaints either. You load up the boys, you load up the bags, and you go play whoever you're going to play. That has been the way we've been doing it forever. And now that USC's doing it, it's a big deal. We've been doing it forever.
Yep.
So I don't know.
I'll add to this. They've been doing that with guys that played smash mouth football, and that's what we need for recruiting. I personally don't care about the stars because you look at Notre Dame's history, there's no big names other than Rodney Paul coming in to win 4 Heisman.
Obino.
Yeah, exactly. And I missed that guy. What a treasure he was.
Yeah, he was old school, man. I remember that one. And so I don't know, man. And then let's transition into Notre Dame in spring ball here. What's on your radar? To me, I'm looking obviously at the quarterback dynamic, and I'm also looking at that defense, just hoping Chris Ash could keep the band together and there isn't an obvious regression to where you then have to start worrying about the defense. As long as you don't do that, I think we'll be in a decent spot.
Well, there's an article yesterday, and I'll see if I can find it and pin it to your Twitter. But there's an article out there where they're saying Notre Dame's loaded for next year.
Yeah, I don't know about loaded. Are you sure you're going to have a passing attack you can rely on? Because to be loaded, that's something I need to know I have, and I don't know that I have that. I don't even know who's throwing the ball.
We had it last year. We just didn't use it.
Man,
we got some guys that can throw and throw with accuracy. I like going to the games early. It would just, as soon as they open the gates, which is, it depends on the stadium, but 2.5 to 3 hours early, and just watching guys throw. The quarterbacks, it's fun to watch them throw, and who's got a nice ball, who's on the money, who's, just landing balloons right in people's hands. It's pretty fun to watch. And I'll tell you, Angeli can do it. Minchie can do it.
Man,
and,
I just loaded
Carr
is, but loaded is a loaded word, right? Like I'm like literally loaded is a loaded word. And so I want to believe it, but I got to see it to believe it. And if you get good health, it'll go a long way. But there are question marks here that, and I just, there's going to be anxiety. And you know what else I do wonder too? When spring ball is over and we're leaving the blue and gold game, I wonder if we're going to know who the number one quarterback is at that point, or if this is a scenario that's going to run us into August camp. I've been thinking about that lately too. Are you going to know who that guy is when we leave blue and gold, or is it still going to be up for debate?
It's not an answer to your question, but what I would love to see, as good as Notre Dame media is at putting together videos, is do a video with the quarterbacks where they're all Western gear and, just walking in a John Wayne walk like gunslingers getting ready to face each other. I think that's what it's going to come down to, and that's what I hope the spring game is on a nice, let's say a 60-degree sunny day. That might be a pipe dream on the weather, but that was phenomenal. And just watch them go at each other and may the best team win. But kudos for Marcus and the staff on keeping all those guys in the house.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And the other thing that Goolsby always talks about on Patreon is he's like, I know all these quarterbacks are close friends and they're all friendly and they all move around together, because they're the quarterback room or whatever. But he's like, at some point, somebody needs to flip the switch from like, we're all best buds to like, I have a job to win here. And turn into more of like a cutthroat. I'm here to beat you out to win this job, and we could be friends or whatever, but it needs to take a more like serious tone and turn. I just wonder what this is all going to look like, and if we're going to know it, if we're going to know the deal. People are saying, why would they announce it now if you knew the quarterback was going to be like after spring or whatever? In an ideal world, I don't even think you need to announce it, because one guy will emerge head and shoulders above the rest and be the default leader that everybody else is drawn to. And like, that's the best case scenario, is that it becomes clear that you really don't even have to say it and a leader emerges and it's just obvious. I don't know if you're going to get that or not, but that would be by far the best case scenario. There isn't really decisions to be made then.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen, and everybody's going to rally around whoever it is. And I don't think there's going to be any split because the guys are friends. And the true meaning of competition comes from a Greek word meaning to conspire together. So, and if you look at some of the greater teams, when they were in competition, they weren't in competition with the opponent. They were in competition of working together so well that it didn't matter who faced them. They were going to steamroll them. And that's what I'm looking forward to Notre Dame football is these guys. You got Bowens and guys like that are coming in and they're becoming seasoned, I should say. And we're going to see some great movement. My biggest worry for the spring is replacing Riley Mills and Howard.
It's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. And I've been reading and hearing more about that in interior. What are you going to do there? Are you going to be able to hold up there? Do you have the depth? Do you have the frontline guys you need? And that needs to be an area and a focus in recruiting as well that I hope this new GM focuses on. It's fair.
I think we're going to be stronger at the end because of Bryant Young, Bryant Young, and et cetera. And I think they're going to surprise some people.
And that's another thing. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but this is again another position where we were so banged up. It would really, really help if you had decent health there. Just look at how different the pass rush situation in that D line and the D front would have been if you weren't down 3 or 4 guys that were key contributors in the 2 deep. So the health alone is just a big piece of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And as it happened last year, it's next man up. And the guy behind him stepped up and filled the role. And we continued to roll. Yeah, granted, they were tired and beat up when we got to Ohio State. But still, I mean, a couple of things here, a couple of things there, and we were still in it, so to speak, until that missed field goal.
Yeah, it's this is just, it's interesting to see this program evolve and change. And now we're in year 4, and just like the 3 years felt like a blur, and now you're into year 4, and it's just, this is a big one, man. I know year 3 was a big deal in its own way for its own reasons, but now you got a standard that was set, and to see what you're going to follow it up with it's going to be a really, really intriguing scenario. Anything else, my friend? Thanks for touching base on a Monday.
Yeah, that's it for me. Notre Dame baseball just took 2 big ones over the weekend. Notre Dame lacrosse did well. We saw what happened with Notre Dame women's basketball, but all of them are a treat to play. So as we wait for college football in 188 days to kick off, get out and support the Irish, no matter if it's softball or even fencing. Just, if you've never seen it before, go see it. It's a lot of fun, and God bless you. God bless everybody. Go Irish.
Go Irish. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good one. Take care now. I'll be down in his area in 3 weeks. That's if anybody's wondering when the next Notre Dame news is going to break. I'm going to Florida in 3 weeks. So as soon as I get on that plane to go down there, then a whole bunch of Notre Dame news is going to happen, because it's just the way it is. We are not Marshall. By popular opinion of what I'm told, Carr, who has never thrown a college pass nor played a snap, is the clear favorite. That honestly does seem to be kind of be the way it is. And you'll hear behind the scenes that people that it's like Carr's the guy they want. And so if Carr's the guy they want, if you believe Carr's the guy they want, do they, or how do they set everything up in the spring to lend itself for that result? Do you get what I'm asking? Like, if that's what this staff knows they want, then how do they set things up in the spring to lead to that result? And it could be simple things like he gets more snaps with the ones. And so you're going to look better when you have the number 1 O-line and the number 1 receivers and the number 1 back, whatever it's going to be. Right? Instead of like, on guard. Dude, fencing, I'll never get sick of fencing. It just looks so awesome. And they're wearing the whole outfit with the beekeeper head on, and they're just sitting there stabbing away on guard. On guard. Ding, ding, ding. And I always laugh when, all those years you're sitting there at Notre Dame Stadium and, Notre Dame struggling to beat some mediocre team at home in sleepy Notre Dame Stadium in like mid-September or whatever. And then you go, and then on the commercial break, they bring out, they're like the 5-time champions in a row. It's the fencing team. And I'm always kind of groaning, being like, I appreciate that we're winning in other things, but can we win the big one instead of fencing and all the women's stuff? Win the one that moves the needle. On guard. Where do you get the swords for fencing? I need a sword. Johnny's getting bored. He needs to get a sword. I think that's what we need to do. 630, what's going on? Good morning.
Yo, John, this is Burks. How are you, man?
I'm doing fine, Burks. Hey, thanks for being here, man. I do appreciate you, even in the off season, sticking around here, man. What's new? What's on your mind? You have a little kind of an outsider perspective on Notre Dame football. Where do you think the program is at from your perspective a couple weeks away from spring ball?
Yeah, man, the offense for Notre Dame, it's going to be elite. I feel like they're going to step it up, I feel like Ngeli will be your QB1, and I saw like what he can do. And listen, if he's not good, man, like they'll put Carr in right away. They're not like. And then the receivers will step up. I think Malachi Fields will be great. Running back, man, you guys got that Penn State running back coach, man. That is huge. All right.
So now, wait. Okay, wait. Time out now. You just said you think Angeli may be the number one guy, but if he doesn't get it done, they'll have a quick hook. Like, what does that look like, man? Doesn't that mess everything up if you're running with him as the ones getting ready for Miami? And then, like, if that went bad, do you bail when you have that week in between before you host A&M? Like, that would be a total nightmare if you did that and it didn't go well. It would be a total nightmare. Where do you pull that hook?
I don't know, man. Like, that's the problem. Like, I think like if he's getting, let's say like Ngeli, I don't know, they're getting crushed or something and they lose, then they might just put Carr in, maybe like, kind of like what Michigan did last year. They kept doing musical chairs, but like the problem is it's not safe. That's the problem. But you have to take a risk, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't know, dude. It's going to be interesting, but I feel like Ngeli should, be great this whole season. I don't know if Carr will even beat Ngeli. That's just my opinion. Even though everyone wants Carr, I can just tell. I don't know. I feel like he's a guy that you can just trust on him.
Yeah, man. It's just it's a whole different ball game for these coaches now, because they also have to worry about guys transferring, and it's like, how do you balance having a fair competition or whatever? But if you go with Angeli, dude, Carr's probably out of here. Like, I don't know. Do you get intimidated by that if you're a coach? Does it shade your decision-making and planning when you feel like you have guys you kind of want to keep happy for depth or for next year, whatever, but if they don't play, then they could leave, or if it looks like they're not getting a fair shot, or that's their perception? Like, I don't know how much that messes with coaches' plans in their heads or not. The idea that if a kid doesn't feel like he's getting a chance, he's going to leave. And what does that do? I don't know whether that should matter or not, or how much it matters.
Yeah, man. See, this is a question I really can't answer, really, because it's going to be different. But I don't know, man. It's going to be, you just have to like wait and see. It's one of those type of stuff, because there is QB controversy in Notre Dame, and even in Ohio State, and even in Michigan. That's why all three of these programs are going to have an interesting offseason, I feel.
Yeah, it's man, I don't know. And the other thing is you automatically have the quarterback dynamic that is the big one, and it's going to get all the clicks and all the views and everything, and everybody understands that it's quarterback. I'm also looking at that defense, man. I just need Ash to maintain. He doesn't need to be Superman. He doesn't need to be a hero. This defense has been the backbone of the program for like a decade at least, and I just need you to not mess it up. Like, I just need you to be able to maintain the level we were at, and that'll be good enough. I don't like having to have this on my things to worry about list where I didn't going in with Al. And it's not like I'm waiting for it to fall apart, but it is an item on my maybe to worry about list, and that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, man. The Ash hire, like I said, I felt like they rushed on it. They should have waited and then maybe got. Listen, I'm not a big fan of Ash, but hey, man, Ash can do something great. Like they have the defense, and I do predict. I'm going to give you a prediction right now, but I do predict that Notre Dame won't make the playoffs this season. Ooh. I do predict that, but there could be some, growing pains. They're going to lose a game. They're not going to go undefeated. Yeah, I'm pretty certain on that. I feel. And I trust Marcus Free. Freeman, man. Listen, what he did last year was amazing. Will they win a Natty? Most likely not. But hey, you never know, man. Like I said, they'll be great. Like they'll be. I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't be surprised. They just need to, improve on the recruiting. The receivers, man, they need to open up the playbook more. And I think Love will be like, he'll be definitely a Heisman candidate.
Let me ask you this. You're a good person to ask because you're kind of on the outside, but you're fair about the way you look at Notre Dame. What do you think is the biggest weakness of the Notre Dame program from the outside now, looking in at the good run but falling short? Where do you think is an area they need to improve? Is it just like overall star talent, like Ohio State has 14 5-stars and Notre Dame had 1 out there in that game? Or like, what do you see as the biggest area holding Notre Dame back from eventually winning the championship, not just getting there?
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be recruiting and star talent. They only lost to Ohio State because of Ohio State had better talent. Notre Dame actually was the coaching was not bad, but they missed a lot of tackles on receivers, and just it's just a star talent. And listen, it takes a really special person to go to Notre Dame. It does actually, because first of all, it's a hard academic school. It's it's in South Bend. It's not like one of in big cities like Columbus or Austin or stuff where you can just party. I feel like recruits these days want to have a good time. They want to party. They want like a social. Notre Dame, you're like in a campus, a beautiful campus that's like looks like French architecture. It's just amazing campus. And not only that, but you're just academics, football. It's not that many people want to go to a school like that. And that's the thing is that's the problem there is I feel like a lot of recruits, and then also it could be the NIL as well. I feel like you guys could have a donor problem, maybe. It really depends. I don't know. Or maybe you guys overpay players when you guys could get way more talent than what, your NIL. I don't know. See, but it takes a special person to go to Notre Dame. And that's the issue. I think it's going to be the recruiting. And Mark Freeman really needs to get that. He needs to get a top 10 recruiting class.
You are right. It really, you have to have a different mind frame to be open to the Notre Dame experience. You're totally right about that. It's the independence part, like you're not in a conference and you got to be cool with that and like open to that. Notre Dame itself is unique, being a private institution, religiously affiliated, the geographical location, the area it's in. There's all these really unique nuances with Notre Dame. And it's kind of like a thing where it either hits you or it doesn't. You get what I mean? Like very few people are in the middle. I'm talking about fans, players, coaches, whatever. You either kind of like it hits you and you're drawn to it, or it totally turns you off and you're just like, I don't understand. Why would anybody do this? That's always been a part of the Notre Dame dynamic. You're right about that.
Yeah, no, and that's why I respect Notre Dame a lot, is because it takes a special person to go to Notre Dame. And plus, they're a Catholic. Maybe there's a person who's, let's say like a Muslim or a different Christian. I don't know. He could be an Orthodox or something like that. Maybe not Catholic. He may not want to commit there. It's like there's a lot of stuff that's holding Notre Dame back. And that's why I feel like that could be a reason why they haven't won a Natty since 1988. But if they had less restrictions, who knows, But it's like I said, it's always hard to win at Notre Dame. It just is. And I think that's going to be Mark Freeman has to get the recruiting better and, transfer portal a little better too.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens, man. And then on the way out, I got to ask you, what are you looking forward to this spring for your team? What are the big question marks?
Yeah, QB obviously is Underwood going to start. Is it Mikey Keene? He's a transfer we got. I think those are going to be the biggest, questions. A lot of people are saying Mikey Keene may start over Underwood. Underwood will take the job. That's what a lot of Michigan people are saying. Some are saying, and they're getting a fight over it. And then we got, Wink is back. Thank God. He's a defensive coordinator who, by the way, beat Ohio State and beat Alabama, which, was huge because, he could have went to the NFL. NFL teams are interviewing. So it's going to be interesting. I think QB and then our receivers is going to be the question. I think our defense will be decent.
Yeah, and then
even though we have some guys gone.
What do you think about your new coach? Do you feel like there's some instability, or he just needs to get things to settle in a little bit and get beyond like the being in trouble stuff and like the way he got the job and all that? You feel like things are settling down for him?
Yeah, I think so. It'll be interesting to see. We'll see. I gave him like a C grade. I like. Listen, I don't think he's amazing, but he's not the worst. He did develop Drake May, North Carolina. So we'll see, honestly. But it'll be interesting for sure.
It'll definitely be interesting. I just know everybody's ready for spring football, man. I needed a few weeks off to regain my sanity and let my nerves calm down. And now I'm ready to go, man. Hey, I really appreciate you giving me a call, starting us off on a Monday, man. Thanks for always being here, even though this isn't your team. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, of course. I love talking Notre Dame football, even though I'm a Michigan fan. So, hey, I appreciate having you taking my call. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate it. I like having people from other teams involved in the mix. You guys know that. You know that. Dude, you guys are funny. Andrew Gilmore, I'm starting to feel good about the wide receivers. Did you get a job on the Notre Dame beat, Andrew, and you're getting ahead of the curve? And you're going to write all the articles. This is the year Notre Dame's wide receivers going to stretch the field. They're going to be behind the defense. Just wait. Just wait. Tobias, number one, baby. Number one target. Breakout, number one. Baller. Go up and get it. Randy Moss, baby. Give me a break. Give me a break. You know what it's time for. And then I'm going to come back and read these chats. You guys are funny on a Monday. You guys are Jay Grizz. I love seeing Johnny trying so hard not to crack up from the jokes in the chat. It is you could see it like when you write certain things, but I'm mid phone call, but I'm reading it, and you can see me sometimes try and not like laugh. It's just Andrew, here's the thing, man. I want this to be true, but I believe it when I see it. I ain't believing nothing about this wide receiver thing being in the real world. I got to see it to believe it. And I think that is fair, given the challenges we've had in that area for so long. I'll believe it when I see it. And God, I would just love, could you just have two different guys get behind Miami in game one and show you could do, like, I'll believe it when I see it. And I will not believe it one moment short of when I see it in a game. Not a 2-second clip from spring ball in a gym and a guy throws the ball and a guy jumps up and catches it. Oh, we're off to the races now. We're winning the Bolitnikoff. Believe it when I see it is the fairest way to be. Man, I mean, crying belly. I never call in because John laughs on the calls and isn't even paying attention. Bro, you got to give me a break, man. I am trying to do like 4 different things at once, and I'm not the smartest guy in the world. So for me to have the attention span to look at the chat, make sure I look put together on the screen and I'm putting stuff up, not missing any of the donations, and I'm managing the calls, and I'm trying to think of my own thoughts, and I'm trying to hear what the callers are saying. It's a lot in my brain. Give me a break. I'm not that smart. Son of a buck, give your boy a break here. Crying, thanks for being here. Low IQ. Your host is a low IQ host. You're stuck with me. You're stuck with me. Sorry. Oh, man. You guys are hilarious. You guys are time to energize the batteries. Dude, what happened to Omar, man? I'm just saying, like, where's Omar? Like, I feel bad, man. The dude used to be here. The dude used to be here every single day, keeping me on time and doing all this stuff. And he's gone. We lost to Ohio State and he's gone. He got abducted or something. It's my birthday, Johnny boy. The Wells Lamont player of the game is Reggie Burks, who had the hot hand today. Happy birthday, Jay. How old are you? Just wondering. It's none of my business. I'm just wondering. Let's do a couple of these chats that I highlighted earlier. Johnny needs to have some music pumping like Uncle Lou does prior to his show just to spark the vibes. Here's what I don't know. If you play music that's trademarked or copyrighted, then you're not able to monetize. Like if you play a popular song, they get the money on your video or whatever because you're using a song you didn't create, and then the YouTube system can sense that, and then they get your money. So that's why I don't play music during the show, or I'd love to create a vibe with different music, but I don't know how he does that without losing the revenue unless it's all non-trademarked or non-copyrighted music or whatever. I don't know. This is a good one from Mark. Big picture, what would be better for the program? Love wins Heisman or ND loses in the Natty again? No other details provided. You got to pick one or the other. I'm picking Notre Dame loses in the Natty again. Because you could have a Heisman guy and your team not make it that far. I think it's a bigger deal for the whole program to show that it's at that title level again. Making it to the championship in back-to-back games, that would mean you win 6 playoff games in 2 years. I could see a scenario where Love wins the Heisman and Notre Dame loses 3 games and misses the playoff or something. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a bigger compliment for the overall program for you to make it to the championship. And if you lose it, it'll be frustrating, but you made it there again. But I also understand the argument of it's about time Notre Dame got some more Heisman hardware in the Goog. I think I definitely understand that as well. But I just think it's a bigger feather in your cap overall if you're able to get to the championship in back-to-back years. That's 6 playoff wins in 2 calendar years. We haven't won 1 playoff game in my whole miserable 30 years until last year. You haven't won 1 major bowl game in the last 30 years. You won 3. If you get it again, anybody is 6? Johnny, how good do you predict the O-line to be this year? Really, really good if they're healthy. Really, really good if they're healthy. Tom Frawley, Chicago's very own. I'd love to see Indy get through next season without all these bloody injuries, especially to key players. If they avoid the injury bug, they should go deep in the playoffs. Tom, I hope you are deep into the state of Florida, my friend. You were going down south. And I hope you're down there, man. My dad's down there. He was sitting at the beach yesterday. Sitting at the beach, baby. Always Irish senior. Look at this. The White Sox lost to the Cubs over the weekend. Such a shame. I already covered that. I don't know if either one of them are going to be available on local TV. I don't know. Mikey Poles. I think the biggest issue that ND must address is the injuries. The cleats are proven to be an injury outlier. Landau has a proven track record of injuries. This needs to be fixed. Again, you need to look at all of it. And I'm not being accusatory, but when you have an outlying amount of injuries like Notre Dame had compared to a lot of these programs, you have an obligation to look into everything. I'm not placing blame. All I'm saying is you have an obligation to look into everything you're doing and you're wearing and everything else. SPF, new GM, new DC, new running back coach, and maybe a freshman starting quarterback. I'm not saying ND's cooked, but it's going to be a lot tougher than a lot of you want to admit. I agree with that. And some of it has to do with this schedule as well. It's just a front-loaded schedule that allows you no leeway to be able to ease into the year. You got to be ready right away, or you could get to the halfway point and be out of playoff contention. You just don't have any leeway with the way this schedule's stacked. And again, I'm telling you this right now. The back half of this schedule is horrible. I hate it. The back half of this schedule is an absolute yawn festival. It is. There ain't nothing there to wake you up at all. Man. Sid, anyone know what the blank is up with ND recruiting? I mean, 14-2 and USC is lapping us. I don't know, man. Maybe it's because the new GM we didn't have in place. I don't have the answer. I don't know, man. I don't know. 574 Heisman. So he's answering Mark with glasses questions. Heisman. I feel like losing another championship game hurts the program in a way. Second place is the first loser. Not that I agree with that, but the perception is the reality, unfortunately. Think about it logically, though. You're going to get made fun of more for winning 3 more playoff games and losing in the last one than you would if you didn't make it to the playoff or won 1 game and lost. How does that make sense? I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. I do. Look at the commander. Captain positivity here. I don't see any reason ND shouldn't run the table based off the defense alone. Nobody's scoring over 21 on this schedule. Okay. Commander with the confidence. Confidence commander. Mikey pulls again. I'm all in on Carr. I think he's ND's future. As for the experience thing, none of the guys on the roster have meaningful experience. I want the most talented guy out there week 1. That is, people are like, Angeli's experience or whatever, man. I got to give him a lot of credit for what he did against Penn State. Everything before that is mop-up duty, or the bowl game the year before where the whole other team entered the portal before the game. I'm not that impressed by what you do in mop-up duty when a game is out of reach. Doesn't move the needle to me, man. When you get inserted into a game that's over, it just doesn't move the needle. I'm sorry. John, did you reschedule your trip to the Wisconsin Dells? I was looking forward to hearing stories from that trip. No, everybody else went. It wasn't just our immediate family. A bunch of family members went. The cousins could all go down a water slide. They all went. Johnny laid around all week with the dog and just laid there feeling miserable. I don't know. So, no, we really didn't. Everybody else went and had fun. So, I don't know. Andrew Gilmore, he agrees with my recruiting take overall, but those services do need to apologize for Leonard Moore's ranking. He'd be a 3rd-round pick or higher if he was allowed to go pro. Clearly, there was a miss there, and clearly Notre Dame deserves a lot of credit for seeing the traits and picking him up. Tex MD says moving sucks. Dude, moving is one of the few things in life that I will say, if you have extra money and you can afford it, pay somebody to do it. Whatever that looks like. You stack the boxes or whatever, and then you pay some young people that are in better shape than you to move stuff out, heavy stuff up and down the stairs, whatever. It's one of the few things that I'll say, if you have the money, pay somebody to help you move. Seriously. John broke Omar's heart. I don't know where the guy is, but I'm worried. I don't know. Johnny got sick this is good. This is good. He said Johnny got sick just by snipping them Buckeye chocolates. I still got them here. I'm not opening them. I'm not that hungry yet. Maybe if I'm dying on an island or something, I will. If I'm dying on an island, I'll do that. Andrew, I got a story on this. When I was moving out of my townhouse in Evanston, just north of Chicago, the first town outside the border north of Chicago, and I was moving out of there out to the suburbs. I think I went on Craigslist and hired I didn't have no money. I was in between jobs, didn't have a lot of money. And I found some Iranian dudes that were like brothers, and they were jacked like Iranians or something. And they were offering to move, and they would load up my U-Haul, and then all I had to do was hit the road or whatever. We agreed on an amount. We agreed on a time. And these guys show up 6 hours late. And I am all ready to move. It ruined my whole plan or whatever. I'm ready to move. These guys are 6 hours late. Then they show up, and then they load up the stuff or whatever. And then right when I'm going to get in the U-Haul, they change the price. And they're like, that's not what we agreed on. It was like double the price we agreed on the phone. And they were 6 hours late to when they said they're going to be there like 7:30 in the morning. And I'm sitting there waiting. They're like I don't know what they were. I don't know what they were. Not American. I don't know if they were Iranian, something from over there. And these dudes changed the price on me, and then were like kind of like holding my stuff hostage for a while. And then they went to like the front of the front of the place, but they were loading up my stuff in the back of the place. And they went up to their car or something, and I gave them the money I agreed on, and I hopped in that U-Haul, gunned it out of the alley, and I sped off before they could come back. It was not good, man. They were like trying to charge me double the price and then acting like their English wasn't good when it was fine on the phone. Their English was fine on the phone, and then when we're negotiating, suddenly he's not understanding me being mad that they're 6 hours late and being like, how are you going to double the price when you're 6 hours late anyways? But I sped out of there and I got out of there. But it was very uncomfortable. And these guys were large brothers, large, muscular, shaved-headed twins or something. You know what they remind me of? Does anybody remember the twins from Breaking Bad? Does it tell me you guys know who I'm talking about? Remember the twins from Breaking Bad? And they had the axe and they were chopping everybody with the axe and going after Walter White. That's what these guys looked like and reminded me like. Were those twins from Breaking Bad, the guys that had the axe? That's exactly what's in my brain now when I picture those two guys. Shaved head, all muscular, doubling the price and coming all late. It was BS, man. It was BS. Look at this. Early commits never turn out for ND anyways. You got to figure something out. As far as you getting all these guys early in a class, and then all summer I'm sitting there, we're number 5, we're number 3, and it's all great. And then right when it matters, they ditch. You got to figure out a way to prevent that. And I don't know what that equation looks like, but you got to figure it out. Chad is the whitest of white bread names. Hey, Chad. Anybody remember the Mad Real World from Chappelle? And the white dude's name was Chad, and his girlfriend Katie was there. Does anybody remember what I'm talking about? Hey, Chad, I hooked up with Katie too, man. I can't even repeat the rest of it. It's all inappropriate. But if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Hey, Chad, I hooked up with Katie too, man. Look at this. Omar told me he's boycotting the show till John releases the do-rags. Is that what it is? Name a Chad that isn't white. Chad Ochocinco. Chad Ochocinco. There you go. Chad Johnson. I got it. What do I win? What do I win? I just love how John said good morning to WPP and everybody else goes after Hey, WPP, man, supports the articles. He's always on the Patreon and he's here. I appreciate the support. I really do. Gilmore, no way. Carr's the guy. Everybody knows that. Give him the most snaps. We'll see how it shakes out. There ain't a lot of number 1 reps with all the number 1 people that go around. There's not. We will not hear a QB1 announced till well into fall camp. I'm going to repeat. In an ideal world, you don't need it to be announced because everybody could see who the leader is. By the way they play and by the way the team coalesces around them. I don't know if you're going to get it, but in an ideal scenario, nothing needs to be said because you just know who that leader is. You know who the leader is. ND and a dangerous passing game has not gone together in how long? A really long time. Texas Mac. If you don't make the championship, it'll be regression by definition. That's a part of the dynamic here that's on my mind is you're in a scenario where you won those 3 games and you raise the bar of the level of this program and what everybody's looking at, like the realistic whatever. And it's tough to get back there. And it's going to be tough if you don't make it back to the final game of the year to not feel like you regressed. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to tell you this right now, Mark. I've never seen a pair of Skechers that I thought looked like cool to me ever. I just can't understand it. Every next version of Skechers I see is more ugly and clunky looking than the ones that came before it. I just can't. None of them look aesthetically pleasing to me. I mean, they're not the Yeezy spaceships, but they just look bad. I would prefer the white New Balances that I see men my age wear. It just drives me absolutely nuts. Everywhere you go, every 52-year-old dad in the Midwest, he's got his cargo shorts, the long socks, and he's out at the Texas Roadhouse, and he's wearing the Under Armours, and they're white, and they have the ugly, blocky blue NB. And you know what else bothers me about those New Balances too? Does everybody got a fat foot? Why do they look like they're just as wide as they are long? Everybody got to shove their fat hoof in these damn Skechers and New Balances. The New Balance, they look as wide as they do long. I absolutely hate them. There is not one redeeming aesthetic quality about any of those New Balances at all. How could anybody walk in a store and be like, you know what I think I need? I need those right there. I just can't understand how anybody could think that. How? I don't get it. No, that's a very popular opinion, Walter. Crocs are really, really ugly. Are you kidding me? How can anybody not think that they were ugly? Kidding me? Brandon Wimbush. He made the Forbes 30 for 30 list as far as his whatever he's doing for the business stuff. He's doing something with agent. He's got something going on. And I just saw you was on the 30 under 30 list or whatever. Good job, man. Congratulations. Congratulations on that. Andrew. Freeman wants Carr to start. They won't hand it to him, but he'll get the best chance and he'll get the most reps. Well, there you go. And that kind of answers my question about if the staff has in their mind how they want it to go, what conditions do they set up to lend itself to go down that avenue? That's really an interesting part of this to me. Really an interesting part. $5 from my main man, Walter. Is that a skate park in the picture? Notre Dame needs edge rushers as good as they were last year. They lack scary pass rush. There's no reason for opposing QBs to have that much time. I mean, didn't we have like 3 or 4 guys busted up the whole year there? So I don't know. Guaranteed John owns sandals. Are you out of your mind? I wear a size 13 shoe. I have a long and skinny arms and feet. The only time you're ever going to see my feet is at a beach, on a boat, or in a pool. You will never see my hooves anywhere else. Don't make me do this on a Monday. No one wants to see men's feet anywhere. Guys, don't take care of their stuff. You got Paul Bunyan's hanging out the side, hairy knuckles, that whole patch of disgusting white hard skin where you've been walking your dumb fat hoof. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. No one wants to see guys' feet. Omar! What a weird transition into Omar coming back. You're alive! Where have you been? Where have you been, Omar? We've all been worried sick. We have been worried sick, Omar. Unbelievable. I want to know where you've been, man. I've been all out of whack on my time clock and my time and everything. Unbelievable, Omar. I'm just glad you're here, buddy. I mean, we've been missing you. We all thought you were gone, man. I'm just glad you're here, buddy. It's not the same without you, and I'm really, really glad you're here. Anyways, back to my issue. No one wants to see any dude's feet. They don't take care of their feet. It's disgusting, and I hate it. And if it's in an airplane, it's even worse. No one wants to see your damn hooves, okay? Commander, at any point, would you wear a toupee or just allow the natural loss of your hair and accept it? Commander, how do you propose that I'm on here every day and everybody can kind of start seeing my hair receding and falling out? And then what? One day I'm just going to show up with a huge fresh weave and everybody's just supposed to accept it? Like, I don't even know how this works. How am I supposed to do this, man? You can't do what I do, and every single day people are used to seeing you. And then I'm just supposed to show up with a brand new weave and act like everything's fine? Go to Turkey and get a transplant. Like, I mean, come on, man. 502, what's going on?
Hey, John, thanks for taking my call. A few things, a couple, three things, if I may.
Sure, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I haven't listened to the earlier part of the show. Some of us are in the office working, but I'd like to try and your expectations for next season. Would you say they are high, medium, or low?
I think there is a obligation to have high expectations given the momentum you've gained in 2024. I think that is fair. I think you need to be a playoff team and win a game and go from there to meet expectations next year. And I don't know if that's fair or not, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think most people need to probably temper their expectations for next season. I mean, I hope for the best too, but realistically, if you look back, it was a great season. And it probably exceeded most of our expectations, no?
I think you would definitely have to say running the table all the way to the final game of the year would count as that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know myself, I'm hoping for the best, but I am tempering my expectations because a lot of things went our way. The only thing that I think I hope doesn't happen again, and odds are it won't, is get hit with the injury bug like we did last season. That gives me hope that we may be able to advance at least 1-2 games into the playoff. But other than that, I mean, I think we got really lucky this season.
Yeah, just that's interesting. But like, you know how this fan base is, man. How are you going to look at it if you go from year 3 to year 4 and you're like, and it just feels like you're not as good? Like, no one's going to be open to that. And I realize it's a very high bar. What are the odds you're going to make it back winning 3 playoff games? Like, it's really hard. But like, now you've changed the expectation of the program and no one wants to regress. So like, what counts as a successful year 4 then for Marcus? Like, how are we going to look at it? How are we going to measure that?
I think people will be disappointed if we don't make it to the final. And you know what? Without the most important position on the team, with that position in question, I think it's unrealistic to expect the team to go all the way. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's just I think that's fair. It's just the way it works in people's minds, and the most simplistic level would be, well, if you don't make it as far as you made last year, that's regression. But like, that was a really impressive deep run. And so I don't know, man, it's going to be really, really interesting. And the other part of this is you're going to have a new quarterback that is not used to being a starter. And I don't know what that should do to the expectations. Do you have to calculate that in and be like, there's a lot of risk there? Like, I don't know. I don't know how you look at that.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to Goolsby about this, I'd be curious to know his take on on next season, or if he's just kind of taking a break. But I'd be curious to know what his thoughts are.
I think,
well.
I know he wants a legitimately open quarterback competition where Kenny Minchie and all these guys have a chance to shine and steal the role. And I just don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what this is all going to look like in spring. It's going to be very interesting.
I agree. One more thing, and I'll let the next caller go. Is there any chance that you can get a hold of Chicago Tom and maybe do some interviews with him, like a series? He has such knowledge and historical perspective on this program. It'd be wonderful for that to be documented. I don't know whether you want to do that on a Patreon or you've already talked to him about that, but boy, it would be great to get him, you and him sit down and just shoot
that guy,
so to speak.
He's so unique. He is such a unique, like for a Notre Dame guy, like the whole Chicago thing and all the history. I would love to do that. And Tom is a great, great guy. Definitely something to look into. And I really do hope, like Phil said, I really hope Tom's able to get to the blue and gold tailgate. I know he had some health issues a couple years ago that held him back. I got to get that guy to the tailgate for sure. Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. All right, that's it. Thanks for taking my call, as always. Appreciate what you do, and go Irish.
Hey, thanks a lot, man, and I appreciate you giving me a call even though you were working. I did think it was funny. He was like, I'm calling you, but you got to understand I got to actually kind of work too, like whatever. Listen, you guys, I got to be honest. I'm just happy Omar's back, man. I was legitimately worried about Omar. It's just good to know that he's still cracking and he's up and at it, man. I'm telling you, John needs a Joe Dirt wig. I do have one for Halloween. Ask Angela. I was Joe Dirt for Halloween with like cut off jean shorts and a mullet wig. And I was out at the bars wheeling and dealing, and I had my mullet. I got a full Joe Dirt wig. Literally, I have the exact Joe Dirt mullet wig. Maybe I should just wear it for fun in the off season on the show just to do it. I don't know. Oh boy. It warms my little soul knowing that Omar is back. I was so worried about it, and I just got so used to him being here. And then when he wasn't here, I got worried about it. All right, guys, that's going to be it. This was a fun show. I'm starting to get my energy back from being sick a couple weeks, whatever. I'm starting to feel better. Thanks for the donations. Thanks for the calls. Thanks for the chats. And then I'll see you guys on Patreon at 7:00 for Monday Night Raw with Mike Goolsby. Thank you, guys. Really fun show.